Nick is fresh out of the office. How are
Fresh
we?
out of the office. I'm good. I literally pulled into the driveway because you said, "Do we have a Nick Gervasi or a Nicholas Gervasi?" And I wrote, "I'm pulling into the driveway." And then he said, "Welcome home, Donna," meaning my car. And I was gonna respond, she just flashed you, like with her headlights, because I don't know if I was watching Cars the other day with Claire, but we were with a 2-year-old, and we didn't realize this back then. When we were watching it like as kids, but Lightning McQueen, there's like two like fans. They flash their headlights at him, and he's like, "Oh."
Oh,
And
interesting.
I never got that at the time.
Adult jokes by Disney.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do adult
There's
jokes by point of view.
I just want to say, since we brought up cars, there's a road near me. I don't know if the roads near you in your town do all of their construction in the summer, but there's a road near me that honestly looks like Lightning McQueen's first paving of Radiator Springs, and it feels just like that, and it's awful.
Yeah, my neighborhood, honestly. We're the only neighborhood in Marshfield, I swear to God, that hasn't been paved like 6 times. It hasn't been paved once since I've been here.
That's wonderful. Has Donna been acclimated well to the
Oh yeah,
neighborhood?
she has four-wheel drive.
Does she have friends?
All-wheel drive. Yeah, your car.
My car?
They're like brothers, only
Aw.
closer.
I can't say my car's actual name because it's part of my license plate, but
Uh,
Bleep and Donna are friends.
I love that. I saw something wild the other day driving.
Please share.
It was the
That sounded
worst thing.
genuine.
No, it was the worst thing I've ever seen on the road. There were two lanes going the same direction, and then there was an island, and there were another two lanes on the other side of the island going the opposite direction. And we were at a red light, and the guy in front of me went over the island, drove into incoming traffic, and then went around and took the right that he was going to take had he just waited in line. So he essentially just went around the light.
What the heck?
But drove into he was either I was talking to coworkers about this. He either was robbing a bank or had a severe medical emergency, or the third option was on something. Because I've never there was like an 18-wheeler coming at him, and he literally, I don't know,
Jeez.
all to get
Did you
around
check-
the red light.
Did you check your local news to see if the story was on there?
No, I was going to Chipotle.
Oh, that's
I
important.
checked my burrito bowl instead.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Only 600 something calories.
Don't calorie count. That's not fun. Don't
not fun.
don't do that. It's bad for the
My
morale.
It is, but my face is getting huge. I saw pictures of
Oh,
myself.
it's
from-
not Time King. Shut up.
I've
No,
seen
it's
my.
not.
I saw pictures of myself from senior year during quarantine, and I was like, oh my god.
Your face is just as round and cuppable as always. Just, like right into the palm of your hands it fits,
Now King's saying his weird shit. I look like Roly Poly. Have you seen Roly Poly?
Roly Poly
Remember
Oly.
that
Of
show?
course I love Roly Poly Oly.
What was that show about?
It was about these little robot kids and their robot dad and mom, and they lived in their little robot world, and they also had spaceships.
And they had friends that were squares. What were their names? Guess for the
Squarey,
square?
squarey, airy, airy. I don't know. Roly Poly Oly, so squarey,
Yeah.
perry, airy.
Yeah. Do you remember Ubi? Someone brought that up on a work call the other day.
That's where you lost me. Was
It
Ubi and
were just
Roly Poly
hands.
Oly?
No, they
Oh.
were. It was like a short in between shows, and it was just hands with eyes.
Did it start with kids going Ubi?
Yes, it did.
Oh, well, I just pulled that out of my ass, so I guess I should
did you
write for
remember that?
children's shows. No.
Wait, did you really?
I literally,
Oh, wow.
yeah, just hire me on Sesame Street, all right?
All right, maybe a little bit of malarkey.
Speaking of which, our president no longer has COVID. Yeah.
all right.
Some late night talk show host made a joke and said the president no longer has COVID, so he can rush quickly right back to falling off his bike.
Yeah, he did
Yeah.
do that.
Brunch. There we go. We're full of the comedies.
I had a dream. Speaking of late night hosts, I had a dream that the other night that Harry Styles and Stephen Colbert died.
Wow. What
I
an
don't know why.
interesting duo.
Yeah, it was weird.
Were they together?
But in the
Were
dream-
they separate events?
I don't even know. I just read it on the news, and I was like, oh, I was just listening to his music, and he was on tour. And then I think the weirdest part was Stephen Colbert was actually Jimmy Kimmel. But his name was Stephen Colbert. Yeah, how dreams just like take parts of reality and just run with it.
Sure, they just weave things in that don't really make sense.
Yes.
I've been told that in dreams, have you been told, not been told, but have you heard this too, that in dreams, the people that you see are always people that you've seen at some point in real life? Like whether your subconsciousness knows them or not, it's just people. Yeah, I don't know. It's just anyone in your dream is someone that you've seen at some point in your life when you're waiting.
Well, that would make sense. Yeah, that would make sense because you can't like dream up a person, right?
Well,
you take features
I
from
feel
other
like
people.
Creativity, though, aren't our brains creative? Imagination.
Well, yes, but I think it pulls from in the same way that I don't know if you do this. I mean, not know. I don't know if you do this, but when I'm reading a book, like the character's house is always a house I've been in.
Yes.
Like Harry Potter lived in my cousin's house on my dad's side, and I barely see them.
Oh, interesting. See, I've been in like, say we're to keep it with Harry Potter. I've been in, say, like Hogwarts because I've seen it on TV.
Well, that too. Yeah, Hogwarts is Hogwarts on my mind because I had seen the movies. But before I had gotten, I guess, to the Hogwarts part, I had read the part about the house, and I saw that as my cousin's house.
Your cousin's house.
Very random because I don't think I've been there in like 10 years at least.
Sure. Well,
Webkins were popular the last time I was there.
That's a throwback.
A throwback and a half.
Well, welcome to episode 2 in our little work series, I guess, unofficial work series, right? We decided we're going to make a series of this.
Yes, which next week, hopefully, we'll have your cousin on, who is an HR, what would you call her, representative? What's her official title, do you know?
Sure, I don't have her official title on me, which I probably should, so that we can market this episode properly. But I'll say HR representative for her company. Basically, she's in charge of, or not in charge of, but usually involved in the hiring and the firing processes within her company. So I think it would be nice to talk with her about, well, the hiring process, but I think it'd be even more juicy to talk about the firing process.
True. I talked about that. I had an HR course. And we went over how to fire someone, and I was like, I will never, ever be in a position where I can fire someone.
Is there a science to that? Like, is it just like let them down easy? Is that the class or the?
I was too like involved in like the juiciness of it, and also like
the drama.
I don't even remember. Also, the teacher that taught this class said harassment, so I don't know if we can take it too serious.
Instead of harassment?
Yeah, so I don't know if we could take the lesson on firing too seriously. But anyways, that's beside the point. I think
the way that you do it is how Sean Hayes does it in The Cat in the Hat.
Oh, I heard Sean, and I was thinking like Campus Min Sean for a second. I was like, that's not his last name, but
no.
Go off. I was like, I don't.
Do you remember Mr. Humperfloob from Cat in the Hat? You're fired.
Yes.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're
Mm-hmm.
fired. The fact that they zoomed in on his lips and probably for a full minute just let him go. Fired. You fired. You fired. Was just
Yeah, it's like a duh at the end.
Fired. Duh. And then he quickly all the Purell, all the hand sanny.
He was ahead of his time.
Way ahead of his time. He was prepared for the pandemic years before the pandemic even was a thing.
So next week we're going to talk about HR and like what companies look for a little bit. That's part of HR, I would assume, as people that hire and as people who say, you don't got it, see you later, and tell you to kick rocks. But today I wanted to talk about what we look for in a company. We can talk about, I think the juiciest part of this, of course, we'll be talking about supervisors. Not specifics, of course, but if you know, you know. And also just like what you look for when you're applying to jobs, what you'd like to see in the companies that you work for now, that type of stuff. So it might be a shorter episode. It might not. We can talk for a long time. So I want to ask you first. How do you want to start? Do you want to talk about...
Well, can I start with giving an update? Because I don't know if I said this the other day when we recorded the other episode, but I interviewed on Monday and got another offer. And so now I have 3 offers on the table and I get to make an informed decision. So hopefully by the end of this week, we're recording on a Wednesday. Is today a Wednesday? By the end of this week, I will know what my life looks like for the foreseeable future. No, well, I don't want to phrase it like that, but well, at least where my career will be.
Well, congratulations. And that's really exciting because a big theme of the first year of episodes has been, what do you want to do with your life? What am I doing with my life? What do I want to do? It's like we were kind of in limbo. So it's wild that now we both are going to have positions and not know what we're doing,
It's also kind of interesting, I think, to reflect a little bit that a year ago when we did our first episode, you were saying I've been doing a lot of interviews and I'm trying to figure out what my job's going to be. And now you've been at your job for almost a year. And I just went through that process I started around the same time that you did, and I'm getting a new job around the same time you did, and I feel like that makes sense. I feel like people, I don't know, a year after graduating kind of collect themselves and figure out, okay, it's been a year, what have I learned, where do I want to be, and I don't know, realign their goals and figure things out. I don't know, I just find it interesting that in a way, my journey is kind of mirrored yours, you being a year older than me.
I guess now that I think about it, I guess that would kind of make sense, just given the fact that there's 1 year difference, and I didn't, not even that it makes sense. It's interesting. Yeah, you had a year of figuring out. I had a year of figuring out. Yeah, we're really doing this. The point of do method.
We should really market
it on purpose. Honestly.
Oh my god, wait, and then we have to put this in afterwards, but side note from the episode. I was watching America's Got Talent last night with my parents.
Oh, yes.
And there was a whole section of the episode. It was, I think, titled Auditions 8, where Terry Crews, the host, and Simon Cowell went back and forth about if you were a fruit, what fruit would you be and why. So I just want to say, I want to reach out to America's Got Talent and see if we can collab or anything. I don't know if anything will come out of it, but, why not? Because it's been our thing for a year, so really, they need to get in line.
True. Let's look alive.
Let's look alive,
and come up with our own material.
All right, let's get our legal team together, shall we?
Yes. Dan, get in there. All right, so...
our friends.
That's part of a producer's job.
Our friends that, want to be lawyers.
Yeah. Santino, get in there. He will not want to be. He's becoming a lawyer.
Well, we should get him. We should get Ryan's brother, Gavin. He's in law school as well. We should get...
God, I love that for him.
We should get Mairead's friend, Sarah. She's also is an aspiring lawyer. And potentially another one of her friends, Megan. Wow, Mairead actually knows a lot of potential lawyers.
She's covered.
Yeah, we should build a legal team. That could be fun.
I hesitate to say this because I don't want to get sued. He is a lawyer. But you know what commercial irks me in just ways, speaking of pet peeves, I should have said this. The Barry Feinstein.
Oh my god.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Where he turns around and crosses his arms. What is that?
This is a local lawyer. I don't know. What is his field?
I think it's if you're injured on the job or something.
Yes, workers' comp. And my favorite part of that, it's a shoddily put together local lawyer, and my favorite part is he's being interviewed, and it's clearly the channel 25 near us, and the microphone is nearby, and they must be interviewing him after he came out of the courthouse, and they just put probably 2-second sound bites from that in the beginning of the ad, and then 2-second sound bites at the end of the ad, and he's just like, we went to the Superior Court, we seek damages, and then it cuts off, and there's more like ridiculousness. And then it's just like, we'll be prosecuting this as far as we can, and then it's like, Barry Feinstein, here's my number.
Yeah, and the part that gets me is he turns around like at the camera and crosses his arms and gives like a very angry look, and it's like, what is this? He just updated it. That commercial had been out for years, and he just updated it, and Barry's getting gray. We're getting so sued.
We're giving him free advertising though, so I don't know why we would be sued.
Because is it is any publicity bad publicity?
Exactly, it's all good.
We're gonna find out.
But yeah,
he's about to sue us. We're gonna be in his next commercial. Let's talk about
Wait, hold on. Another side note.
Okay. I love this. This has been great.
Let's just document this right now. As we were putting together our quote unquote legal team, I feel like it would be a fun episode to create like teams. So it's like, if I don't know, we need a medical team. People we know in our personal lives as well as celebrities that we want to like choose to be on that team. Like, it's kind of similar to the Harry Potter house thing or whatever. Yeah. But I feel like that'd be fun to be like, okay, we're going to enter like a pickup basketball league. Who's going to be on our team out of people we know and people, I don't know, or just celebrities who we want to go. I feel like that could be fun. We could cut this out.
Yeah,
but.
No, that was it's a job. It's jobs.
It's a job. This podcast, it's a job. No,
it's a passion project that we spend time on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna untuck my shirt because I'm sweating.
Welcome home, King.
Yes, thanks,
untuck your shirt.
Thanks.
Get comfy.
Thanks.
You know what my thing is in my routine? I just take my belt off immediately.
Yes. So, anyways,
I want to see you pivot.
Yeah, I forget how we got there, but I am the master of pivoting. So, speaking of getting there, I drove to work today in Donna, who we already talked about, okay? So, Donna's outside, but I got in my car, drove to work, and realized it is my 1-year anniversary on August 2nd. And I got there. And
now 1-year anniversary at the company?
Yeah.
Oh, it took me a while to get there. Sorry. That's exciting.
It's all right. Justin's pulling in now.
That's so exciting. Do you get anything? Yeah. Do you get a bonus? Do you get a raise?
My supervisor's taking me out to lunch for our lunch break.
Oh, that's great.
And the company's paying for it. Yeah. And that's how we started, too. That's how we started. And that's when I looked at her and said, I'm not a Vegas. No, I wasn't. Oh, well, that was that was how I, first learned of the company. But on my first day, she took me out to lunch, and that was when I said inappropriately, I'm not a Vegas guy, but I went to Vegas, and that's how I got my last internship. And I was like, this is going to sound so inappropriate, and that was how I started it. So her eyes were like, oh God, I made the wrong decision. And then I was like talking about that, and she was like, no, that's cool.
This was on your first day of work?
Yes, this was at lunch.
I love that.
We went to the Stone Forge, which is very similar to the British beer company where I used to work.
Are we going to shout them out now? Because
we can shout them. I no longer work for them.
Big reveal, guys! where Nick worked for years, and where Bridget and Claire shat on.
Yeah. I mean, we all did. Well, we all love it. Like, we all loved it, but we all shat on it.
You didn't shat on it.
No, we did.
Well,
but honestly, as much as we've been off topic, we've been on topic because we've been talking about jobs, and that's what a podcast is. I feel like it's a lot of, going
stream of consciousness.
Tangents. But what I was going to say is thinking about, my 1 year, I've been thinking about like what I want in my second year there and what I like about the company, what I would change in the company. I'm actually going to be on a panel, not a panel, but going to a meeting that's internal, with different employees, that will be like, what do we want the company culture to become moving forward? And I'm going to be a part of that. Unfortunately, it's going to prevent me from going to the Dallas Chromatica Ball, but that's okay. I have the Boston one.
Were you going to the Dallas one initially?
I might have. But it had me thinking, what do I want to see change? And then, obviously, I started getting it when we brought in the HR part of the conversation. I was like, let's talk about also, like, what we like in terms of supervisors, that's a big... Justin and I have spent many a night with a bunch of other friends talking about supervisors in a basement at 2 a.m, and I won't name what company. There's someone who listens who will find that funny.
Just one person.
Who was, in a way, our supervisor.
If those walls could talk.
They'd scream. But I loved them. I feel like that's any job, though. You love to hate it.
Yeah.
Right? Although I do like the company.
Well, I don't know. I don't think that's every job. You love to hate it.
Okay.
If you want to love to, I wouldn't say that you want to love to hate your job. I feel like you.
No, you don't want to.
Like it.
Yeah, of course. And honestly, my full-time job I really do like, and my part-time job right now. I like both of them. But to kick it off, what are things that are important to you as somebody who's interviewing right now? Because we didn't really talk about that last time. What are you looking for?
In terms of a company, or in terms of a supervisor, or
a company? Because you don't necessarily know your supervisor every time you're interviewing.
Right. Well, I was actually happily surprised in a lot of my interviews when I brought up a work-life balance and how that's important to me. And all of the companies that I interviewed, there was not a single one that said that that was not important to them. And so, I mean, it could be because I'm going into the mental health field.
Yes.
That just want to name that. But every single company said that they want to prioritize work-life balance. And so they want to try and be as flexible as possible with hours. And you know, all the way up to the CEOs, some companies talk about their CEOs of the company, like saying, one company even said they have quote-unquote CEO days where they say, like, you've all been working hard, we'll take a holiday this day. That's take nice. A holiday. Like, obviously, there's, like, not everyone's going to, but, like, specific people, they'll just assign another, like, you get another paid time off day if you want it. And It won't all be the same day, but they'll just, you know, they'll give it to you. Right. And I think go ahead.
I was going to say, sounds like private high school.
The more you pay, the less you go.
Yes.
That was always the high school motto.
Yep.
At least my parents.
Yep, my parents too.
Thanks, Mom and Dad. But yeah, I think that's a big thing is a company that obviously values you as an employee and as a professional who represents them, but also a company that can understand the humanness of life and that sometimes things come up, and that work-life balance is important. So I think that's definitely one thing. And I think it's another thing that I look for, at least in this time applying for the different jobs, is a company that there's room for growth. So if and growth also in ways that I don't necessarily expect it, like not necessarily climbing the ladder, but also a company that will provide opportunities to further my professional development. Like, I'm taking this job, you know, ultimately I want to go to grad school. I want to get my PsyD. I believe I've said this on here. But yes. I also want to, in this job that I'm going to take, I want to be able to grow in my professional development and my experiences that I have, as well as just be exposed to a lot of different things and shadowing opportunities. And I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So yeah, I think those two.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I second definitely your work-life balance. That's something that I really, really like about my full-time job is I get to leave it at the door, and I have my weekends, or not my weekends, my weeknights free, and that's where I do a lot of my activities with friends is during the weekends. And part of the reason I like that is because I always say, like, I don't live to work, you know, like I work so I can do fun things, and you know,
you work
and also
to
live. Right, exactly. Yeah. I just didn't know if that sounded dramatic. That's why I didn't finish it that way. But that is essentially what I was going to say.
Sure.
Not essentially, word for word, that's what I was going to say. And I like that it allows me to, you know, live, you know, live comfortably, and then, you know, do whatever it is that I want to do after work. And that's not to say, like, I don't want to work a lot, because as you know, I work 6 days a week. But same thing, like that's why I have the side job at the restaurant, is because it gives me pocket money for the week, which is really nice. And also it's fun. Like but again, I when I'm there, I'm like, oh, like I have to go to work tonight, or like hopefully this is my last table and stuff, but I wouldn't give it up. Like if somebody were like, do you want to give it up? I would say no.
Sure.
I'm going to be there this weekend. Woo!
Which kind of brings to, I mean, like, it's a job,
Yes.
but it's something that you're grateful for, which brings up the fact that we didn't even say what we're grateful for.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
you know.
We talked for 40 minutes instead.
Right? Say it in one word without an explanation. Go.
Parents.
Friends. All right, cool.
Done.
Yeah.
Check that off the list. Parents and friends, you're out of here. Everybody turns off. No, I
literally our entire audience.
Yeah. And I, like you mentioned, grad school, and that's something that I really, really admire when people go to grad school. And I've said before, like, I would love to, like, further my education, but I would want to do it. This might be the wrong reasons, just to get more degrees and, like, get more, like, titles.
Accolades.
Right, I guess, because like, honestly, I don't want to be in I feel like when you go to grad school, and I could be wrong about this, when you go to grad school, you climb the ladder, obviously, at your job and whatever industry you go into, but I don't want to be somebody who is stressed when I come home. And that, I'm not saying that's the case for everybody with grad school that goes to grad school. That's, I'm sure, not the case. But if I'm because that's the only reason I want to go to grad school is for the accolades, I need to put my, like, ego aside and be like, no, that's not for me right now, at least.
It sounds like it's not enough for you to consider going back to school at this moment.
Right, well, right, just because I'm not looking for, like, I'm definitely looking to climb the ladder and stuff, but honest to God, like, I got my college degree, I'm in the field I want to be in, and then I have my side job, which is fun. Like, for now, as somebody who is single without kids, like, this is good for now. And
yeah,
again, like, looking towards the future when you talk about kids, like, they're expensive, but
absolutely,
But
besides work-life balance, what are some other things that you might look for in a company?
I wasn't looking for this, just being completely honest, while I was interviewing, just because the pickings were so slim when back, and I'm sure they are now. I'm sure, I don't know what jobs are like, but, like, I don't know how hard it is to find one now. You would be able to answer that better than me. But, like, in 2020, nearly impossible. 2021, I got one towards the end of the year. 2022, maybe it's easier, maybe not. It could be just as hard, it could be harder, who knows. But I really like companies that are equitable and also, like, mean what they say when they say, oh, we're, like, inclusive. And, like, for example, the bank I work at is a community bank, and it's like, what that means to them is it's a smaller bank than, like, say, Bank of America, but it's out in the community, and it's a bank for all walks of life. And companies that mean that are ones that I appreciate, just because I feel like a lot of people nowadays are like, oh yeah, no, we don't discriminate, we don't do this, we don't do that. And it's like, okay, well, would you want to do option A? Like, this is just an example, would you hire someone with blue hair? And then the company, like, is like, I mean, like, it's just like, they just, like, freak out. And that's just an example. But, that's as wild as it is. Like, people dye their hair all different colors. Some people dye their hair blonde or, like, a more natural color. But it's interesting to see the companies that say that they're inclusive and then say, oh, but you can't do this, you can't do it. Like, so it's interesting to me. Obviously, being a bank, it's a more conservative dress code than, say, working at the restaurant. But they do. I have noticed that our HR team has really, it's a newer team. A lot of the members are new, and they really have been trying to put into action what the bank says it is, and it feels authentic, and I like that.
Sure.
I mean, I never didn't feel welcome there, but I like what they're doing, and I like that they're hiring all different types of people.
Sure.
They really are making an effort to do that, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I find important.
Yeah, I think that's great. So we have work-life balance, we have an emphasis and kind of a follow through on diversity, equity, inclusion efforts, and kind of just make diversity, equity, inclusion efforts. And then we also have, what was the other thing that I said? I can't even remember.
You said work-life balance, and you said being able to grow within the
Yes,
company and
growth
not just up the
opportunities.
ladder.
Professional development opportunities.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
How
and
bad is it that I can't even remember what I said?
Well, you have a full year to get there.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm learning.
Yeah, and that's something that I want to do too, because I wouldn't feel necessarily fulfilled if I was just like the same as I was at the beginning of the year. And granted, I haven't changed a ton because it's been a year, and honestly, I've found for me that the first year has been learning, just the whole thing. I've definitely like gotten better at things, but there are things that I still need to work on, just like having it been my first job. And that brings me to my next point, unless you were going to say something else about what you look for, is reviews and like how, and that'll take us, it kind of merges like what we look for in a company, and also like it's going to merge us into supervisors a little bit.
Sure.
So you've said you don't take criticism well. I certainly don't take criticism well. But some of the things that I am working on, because I actually just spoke with my supervisor about this, it's so interesting. One of them is attention to detail, which is funny, given that all my life I've paid attention to detail, like, to an extreme amount. But it's always the stupid things, as I've often been told. So that's one thing, but also just like taking on more of a leadership role. Like the marketing department's only me and my supervisor, but I would like to know the things that she does, to the point that if she's out, I can step in. Because
Sure.
I do more of like the social media, overseeing like a lot of the, just the back and forth emails, the compliance stuff. We've talked about what I do, but I would like to be able to take a more active role if need be. I also just realized something that I am interested in a company, and am looking for as I get, more seniority in this company, is the ability to work from home. Because right now, one of my it's not even a frustration, because I don't mind the drive. My drive is like 43 minutes. But with that said, there is a office in Marshfield that I pass every morning, and it's quite literally, I could roll out of bed at 8:30 and be there at 8:35, and that's not an exaggeration. I wouldn't do that, obviously. I would get ready and look presentable, but I could do that. And just the ride length doesn't bother me, but the gas definitely would be much better without that ride. And also, that gives me back like an hour and 40 minutes of my life every day.
Sure.
So that's something I definitely, so not even working from home necessarily, I think everybody should have the option to, just especially given the fact that people have disabilities that prevent them from getting into work easily. I think everybody should have that ability, but I know myself, I'm not great at working at home. I would get distracted. I want to just work in that office.
I wonder if that's a generational thing, like you're in my generation. I think we're considered Gen Z.
Yes.
Or if that's a post-pandemic thing that people are thinking about. I would say that people could argue both. Because I know that a lot of people who are older than us say that there's benefits to the office and they want to go to the office, and just that they were in that type of working environment more so than I think we are, because we're still pretty naive, for lack of a better phrase, or not even naive, but more so lack of experience in the workforce. But then also too, I think with the pandemic changed everybody's priorities, and so I think a lot of people of all different generations are thinking it is nice to work from home because I can prioritize this or prioritize that. I'll admit that working from home sometimes for me has offered me the opportunity to do some things on my personal agenda that I need to get done, and I'll say, well, I've been on the clock because I don't have any tasks to be doing. And I've been in a situation where I've been in the office and I don't have any tasks and immediate tasks that need to be done, or things that I've just been, say, super efficient in at a certain time. And instead of just sitting there refreshing my email, which I would do in the office or pretend to look busy, I can be productive in other ways.
Right. That, I think, to answer your question, or my thoughts on your question, is that I think it is a Gen Z thing, and also very much a post-pandemic thing. I think
it's both. It's a generational thing, and
yes. Yeah, but I think more so the pandemic, honestly, just because the generational thing, like a lot of like jobs that are available to do remotely weren't a thing. Even 10 years ago, like social media jobs weren't necessarily a thing 15 years ago, we'll say.
Right. It's also the ability to work remote. And we should also say, too, that we have jobs that we can afford to work remotely. Some people don't have jobs where it's impossible to work remote. So that's also something like it's a privilege.
That's true.
To note that, too.
Interestingly, so my mom's a pharmacist and she works from home, and I don't understand how. This was a job that was a position at Walgreens that was created during the pandemic. And she loves it.
So she was promoted during the pandemic and now can work?
No, she was working in the pharmacy and they made this position remote. It was a new position anyways. But they made it remote when the pandemic started.
Sure.
And she loves it.
Yeah.
I just don't understand how she can do it from home, but she does, and it's great.
Yeah. But you were talking about reviews and criticism that you've got and things that you want going into the second year.
Yeah, so that is one thing that I need to work on, just because I know myself, I am very, very scatterbrained. Like, I am. One thing I'm doing to, kind of help that, is I just got an app. I'm going to give it a shout out. It's by one person. One person makes it, not a full company. It's called Structured, and it's a scheduling app, and I love it. I just checked, as we were recording this, I checked off record episode 47. But it is, I'm loving it. And then I'm also using Teams I didn't, to be honest, I didn't even know Teams had checkbox options and like to-do list options, but I have organized my tasks in a way that works for me. I'm trying it out this week while my supervisor's away on vacation, but because we've always used Teams, but we just use it to like message each other to kind of have like a paper trail. Sticking to calendars and softwares like that is an issue too, because I sometimes I get like too into it. It's like, oh, like would this be in this category or this category, and then it just kind of fizzles out and I look for a fresh one. But
sure.
Yeah. So just organization, and not in terms of like space. Well, space too. You know how much I love organization, but I'm not naturally organized. So that's a big one. And then honestly, that's my big one for the year, and having more like overall contributions too. One thing I did this year that I was proud of was I was able to salvage all of the followers from the old bank before they merged to become the bank we are now. They weren't able to get their followers from the original bank, so they had to start fresh. And that was something that they did a year before I got to the company, but I was able to essentially harass Facebook IT until I was able to get back almost 2,000 followers.
That's great. Wow, nice job.
They were very appreciative, and I was just excited that I was able to do it. I want to have more impact like that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and I think you will as you continue to go through.
Yes.
I think my answer to this question is a little bit different, because the way that my job works is we didn't necessarily have reviews, and I've also they know that I'm leaving, and we have supervision meetings, yes, but we haven't had like a year review, because they just know that I'm leaving, and it's like, what would the point be? I mean, the point could be beneficial for me and beneficial for them.
Due.
Yeah, exactly. For the both of us, it could be for the both of us. Be like, okay, this is some feedback I have for you as a supervisor, and this is some feedback that you have for me as your supervisee. But yeah, we didn't really have those types of things. But
was it? I was just going to ask, which job was this?
This was the research job.
Okay.
At the hospital.
Because I was going to ask if it was the furniture job, and I was going to say, remember, he brought this to you?
What?
H.
Yeah.
Do you not remember what we were talking about on the phone the other night?
No, I don't remember.
What the competing furniture bank gives at the end of the
yeah.
Remember,
he brought this to. It was not him. He's giving this to you. Oh my god.
I just showed a picture of Steve Harvey on camera.
For no reason whatsoever. Really, for no reason.
Exactly. But what were you gonna say? You were gonna say something.
Just in terms of my own growth, I feel like I've learned a lot from this job, and I've learned a lot. I think this is a unique point of view. Training my replacement for this job. I've realized how much I've learned and how much I know and how much I can actually be proud of, and things that processes that as you said, you were able to salvage all of those followers. I pioneered processes and to make them more efficient, way things that to be done. Like, I was the first person in with the job title that I have in this role. So I kind of had to do a lot of the trailblazing and do a lot of the, okay, this is how someone in this position should do this and that and whatever. And so now I'm training my replacement to do similar things, and it's been a really eye-opening experience, because it's, upon reflection, it's, oh wow, I taught myself how to do this, or was taught to do this, and now I know it so well that I'm able to teach someone.
Right.
Which has been really unique.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing too. It's like, if you can know something, but you can't necessarily teach it. So if you can teach it, I feel like you really know it.
That's what I've been told for study skills too when I was in school, is that you don't know something unless you're able to teach it to somebody else.
Yes.
Like when you're studying for tests or something.
Which brings us to Lady Gaga and Moya Moya. Episodes 30 and 38.
And the conspiracy theories one.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I forgot. I forgot. Was that in the 40s? Hold on. I'm not going to forget an episode. I haven't done it yet. That was number 43. I forget that we're already in our 40s.
I can't. We look good for being in our 40s.
We really do.
I'm not gonna say.
We're 47.
Yes.
As of today. No, yes. We're just one. We're toddling, if you will. We're not even.
But I would like to talk about. I feel bad because I don't have a lot to contribute to the whole like review thing and what you want to see.
That's
but
okay.
I would like to talk about the supervisors, because that was actually a question that I received in my interviews, was what type of supervisor do you like? What type of supervisor do you work well under? Those types of things. And I don't know. I'm trying to remember if I prepared for those questions or if I just had to do a little bit more thinking when they were asked. But my answers were this. One, a supervisor that can obviously talk to me professionally about how I'm doing with the job, give me feedback about these things. I can talk to them about, go to them for help. They have my back, I have their back, support like that. But also, I think it's important, and supervisors that I've worked well under is supervisors that can talk to me as a person too. If there's a big thing that happened in current events, it's like, oh, what do you think of this? Or how are you doing because this happened? I think is important. Or if I don't look like I'm with it a specific day, someone who can pick up on that and be like, let's have a chat, what's going on? Like, just check in with me personally.
You heard that, Justin, supervisors. If he has a beard, there is something wrong. We've talked about this on an episode before.
I said that? Oh, I've really outed myself, haven't I?
Yeah, I mean, I did too. When I don't shave, it's usually because...
Yeah, if I don't shave...
I'm unwell.
If I don't shave, I'm usually stressed or whatever. Not always. I mean, sometimes I'm just lazy. A lot of times I'm lazy.
Same.
But yeah, if I let it get too long, it's because there's something going on. But yeah, so I said that. I said mutual trust, that we can start off, obviously, when I start in a new position, there's going to be a bit of relationship building. So the leash might be a little bit shorter, but then as that trust is built up, if the leash can be a little bit longer, that they trust me in doing the job and trust that I'll go to them if I have a question, I think that works really well for me. And then I think a supervisor that has really effective communication skills. Like in the past, I've had supervisors that, it's in today's modern working world, email is essential, right? And I've had supervisors who refuse to use email. And it's the most frustrating thing because everybody else in the organization uses email, but then my supervisor doesn't. So I have to figure out a different method to contact them and communicate things. And sometimes it's just not effective. So I think that's something that I've learned through my previous employment opportunities is I work well and really understand the value of a supervisor that can communicate effectively.
Yes. That is, communication is super important in all partnerships, really. Um,
Any relationship, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
What do you look for your supervisor? And what are some strengths? What are some areas?
Well, I feel like, yeah. Well, I feel like I'm in the best position I have been to answer this question. But I feel like that's always going to be the case for everybody because you've never had more supervisors than you do right now. You know, like, but I look to my past supervisors to answer this question. So one thing I'm very big on is I don't like micromanaging. I've had two supervisors that have done that. One of them, I used to teach karate, so I'm not going to say who it was, but one of them would literally hover over me during a class. Granted, I was 14, 15, 16, 17, and like instruct me as I was teaching, which was not only like embarrassing, but it kind of took away my credibility in the parents' eyes and in the students' eyes, in my opinion, more so in the parents' eyes, because a lot of the students didn't necessarily get it because they were like, 4, 5, 6, 7. Some of them did, I'm sure, because there were some older kids, but so that's micromanaging, but it's also like not respecting me. Like respect is another thing, and I feel like to have the respect to at least do that behind closed doors. Like I've had another supervisor that was a micromanager. I've talked to you about them a lot. But they at least did it behind closed doors, quite literally.
Sure. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. So like my current supervisor is very good about not micromanaging. And I really appreciate that because she's very like I will say she will pick up on details that I'll be like, oh, was that I didn't see that as that big of a deal, and I'm saying that I'm just gonna leave it at that but I do really appreciate that she doesn't micromanage, and that's something that I've really appreciated. I've had another supervisor that I've talked to you a lot about that didn't do that for me. Did it to some others, but did not do that to me. So that's a big one for me. And also, just, I don't know, I look back at, those are the two big things, honestly. Communication is important in, like we said, in every relationship, but not micromanaging, but also respecting me enough to, if you have something to say, don't do it in front of like employees, because that doesn't help anything. And I also think positive feedback is much better than criticism as a supervisor, just in the way that like if you point out, I'm personally not looking to be like, oh my god, like I don't need somebody like clapping for me. But knowing what you do well, like in my experience, that makes at least me makes me want to do it again.
Yeah, affirmation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas, oh, you sent this like if it's nitpicking, you sent this the wrong way. It's like if you're picking, at least when it's with me, like in my experience, if you're nitpicking at the small things, it's going to make me more anxious for the big things.
Sure. And also, as you said, if you only are commenting on the things that you've done poorly and not commenting on the things that you do positively, then it's kind of becomes like an unhealthy relationship as well, too. Or healthy supervision. So right. We've talked about respect and trust. We've talked about a supervisor that can be real with you, not only talk about work things, but also talk about personal things, have some banter, have some levity in that relationship. And then we've talked about the importance of positive affirmation and feedback.
Yes.
Which is super, super important.
Yes. So. I also feel very respected right now at the restaurant, just as somebody who has been in that building for a while. The new management has really given me the chance and just like has put a lot of trust in me, as in, you're an experienced server. Like I was never called that at the other restaurant. They put that, not even trust in me, but they put that like faith in, giving me that chance, and yeah. I've done really well, and I appreciate that.
That's great. Again, that's effective communication too.
Yes. I appreciate this, but allowing you to grow, I guess, because I feel like the restaurant that I worked at before, in a sense, some of the managers, obviously not all of them, saw me as the person they did when I was first hired.
Right.
At 17.
Something that I wanted to ask you when we were talking about today's topic, and I think we'll wrap up after this, is right now I'm in the process of, I have 3 offers, like I said, and I'm looking at different things and weighing my options and trying to figure out what opportunity would be best for me to take. So obviously pay rate is something, but something that I wanted to get your thoughts on were when you were looking at, I mean, you said that you had different, your options were slim because of the way the job market was, but what are some of the benefits that a job offers that you might look for, or that you find, oh, wow, that's great? Because I'm looking at those, I'm getting those benefit packages right now, and I'm like, I don't really, everyone gets medical and dental and 401k stuff, but what are the things that, this might be a question for my cousin too, like how can jobs differentiate between benefits they offer from other companies?
401k obviously is very important to me, but like and insurance was important to me just in the way that I want to stay at this company for a long time. I'm under 26, so I can be on my parents' insurance, which is great. But just in terms of benefit, honestly, paid time off is a big one. Like how much paid time off do you get? I would still say if all of those, because you just kind of mentioned it, benefits are kind of like most companies, a lot of companies have them. Have like the standard, like you said, like 401k, that type of stuff. So I guess given that was the case for me, looking at pay was very important to me.
Well, to go on the benefits thing, and then I'll talk about pay just briefly. I think the benefits thing where they do differentiate, which you brought up, is the PTO. It's how many sick days, how do they do their sick days? How do they do their vacation days? How many holidays do they get off? Do you only get Christmas Eve and New Year's, or do you only get, these specific ones and that's it? And otherwise you're expected to work, all other 363 days of the year, including weekends. No, I'm just kidding. But like, I think that is a lot of the times where companies differ is in how they do their time off process. But we can talk to my cousin about that too. I think that would be good. But in terms of pay, I don't necessarily want to say what companies offered me, but something that I did think about when they were giving me their offers was that I want to make sure that I'm being paid at a rate where you brought up, where I'm respected. Like what I'm doing, what my education level is, with the experience that I have. Is this a rate that I can say, yeah, that makes sense that this is what you can offer me? Right. But what are your thoughts on that? Yeah, go.
Yeah, I think discussing pay, I know it's, I feel like our generation is much more open about that and encouraging of it, just in order to make sure everybody's getting paid fairly, because if no one's talking about it, they can definitely, like we see, we see the glass ceiling,
In a private space, I would be fine talking about how much I'm paid. I just don't feel comfortable in a public sphere on a podcast talking about it right now. But if you want to talk to me about this, absolutely. Like talking to our audience and to you and to Dan and to everybody. But. Right.
So what I was going to say is it strengthens the glass ceiling to be quiet about it. However, I feel the same way. I'm happy to talk about it one-on-one with people. However, I don't want to broadcast it to a podcast where anyone can listen.
Right.
I just don't. That's my reason for that. But would you look at that? We're out of time.
Look at that! Wow. How about that? I'm not even ready. I had fun. I like this series.
I did too.
I do too. I want to give Nick some credit here because him and I kind of collectively came up with the interview process episode, but I think this series, Nick deserves some credit here because I think having a series on work and what you look for, and I think it goes along with our theme. As you mentioned earlier on in the episode, a theme of our podcast has been, how do you enter the working world after college, or what are you supposed to do, and just navigating this crazy world of ours. And I think getting a job and going through the application process and interviewing and getting hired, going into the minutia of that is hopefully helpful for people. So thank you, Nick, for encouraging us to do this series.
Oh, stop. You shouldn't have. Keep going. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'll keep going. I thought it was very on theme.
Yes, do it.
My name is Justin too.
And I'm Nick Gervasi.
And you can reach us at our email, pointofviewpodcast@gmail.com. And please do so with questions for our 50th episode coming up in a few weeks. Or by sending us a voice message on our website, anchor.fm/pointofview. do that as well. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Point of Due Podcast and Twitter at Point of Due. If you enjoy our show, give us a rating or review in the Apple Podcast Store or share us with a friend or family member. We'd really appreciate it and are truly grateful for your support. Thank you for listening to this episode. We hope it was helpful. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Dan. As always, we hope you, our audience, has a wonderful week. Thank you for listening. And until next time.
Oh my god, I just got fired. No, I'm kidding. H. Your face.
We have believed that we could make it through. That's how we got this high, never looking back. No doubt, keeping it out. Let's write stories again, this time with my colors. And your colors all together,